Hello, my name is Malik Abbas Dabu. Welcome to UPfront. On UPfront, we assemble the brightest brains to answer the most difficult and nagging questions. Only this week, the Bank of Ghana announced there's a jump in mobile money transfers to 52 billion in the first quarter of this year. That represents 68% of the figure last year. Why is it that up until this point, it is practically impossible to transfer money from one network to another? Why do people have to own multiple networks in order to be able to do mobile money transaction? It appears all of that is in the past now. Who are those responsible for making this possible? When we come back from the break, I will introduce to you a guest who will answer all your questions. Keep watching. You're welcome, but you're watching UPfront, and today we are discussing interoperability. It's a mouthful, and there are many who struggle with this word. What does this mean? I have a guest. He is the Chief Executive of the Ghana Interbank Payments and Settlement System, a wholly owned subsidiary of the Bank of Ghana. Mr. Achi Hesse is my guest. Mr. Hesse, welcome to UPfront.
Welcome.
When we talk about interoperability, what do we mean?
Interoperability simply means that one is able to send and receive mobile money from one platform to another seamlessly without having to use two or multiple mobile phones. What we have created at GIPS is a switch that all the mobile network are connected to. So if, for example, you want to send money from Vodafone to MTN, you do no longer need to have an MTN mobile money in order for you to send it. But once you send it from Vodafone to GIPS, we would then convert it and send it to the so it's more or less like an interpreter that understands all the mobile money languages. So
if I understand it, it means GIPS is serving as a certain form of a bridge.
Precisely.
That conveys transfers.
Precisely.
So the transfer comes to you, and then you direct it to where it should go, regardless of whatever network is sending or is receiving.
Precisely.
Why have we not done this until now?
If you remember, the essence of GIPS is to create an interoperable platform for the banking fraternity. And we have done that by coming up with our GH-Link switch, which you remember once upon a time, if you had a domestic bank card from Bank A, you can only use Bank A's ATMs. Now, by virtue of making the ATMs interoperable, one is able to use all banks' ATM in the country. In the same vein, you are also able to use all point-of-sale devices, the e-commerce platforms that exist in the country as well. And finally, we also introduced the GIP, the interbank instant transfer, where I'm able to move funds from my bank account to another bank account instantly within seconds.
Okay.
So it's a process, it's a roadmap, and we've gotten to the stage now where we want to interoperate or ensure that the mobile money platforms are also interoperable.
Okay.
So it's just a journey.
We will come to some of those, but let's stick with mobile money.
Precisely.
How have you seen the mobile money industry in terms of the rise? And I just mentioned the quantum leap between last year and this year. First quarter, 68%. Last year we did 331 billion. This year we're doing 52 billion.
Precisely, yes.
In the first quarter alone.
Precisely. I mean, the figures speak for itself, that mobile money has really caught fire in Ghana. And it's really creating convenience for individuals to send money between 2 and 3 places, between places without physically going there. What we are about to do now to make them all interoperable is to further create the convenience. Despite the growth, the tremendous growth that we have experienced, there are still Chinese walls when it comes to mobile money. Which is what you rightly spelled out. One, if I want to send money or receive money from a different network, it's impossible. If I want to purchase or use my mobile money to pay for goods and services, and the merchant belongs to a different mobile money network, I will not be able to transact with the individual. If I want to send money to you electronically in the comfort of my home, and we belong to different networks, I physically have to move to a mobile money agent, my mobile money agent, give the mobile money agent cash for the mobile money agent to use your network. So these are some of the frictions that currently exist. And worldwide, it's been proven that in jurisdictions or countries where mobile money has really succeeded, as it has in our case, once we interconnect all the mobile networks, it also takes it to a different dimension. So we envisage that within the next couple of months, with the invent of the mobile money platform, which we are about to launch on the 10th of May, that's in 2 days' time, the mobile money transactions in the country is going to take a different.
So May 10th, what is going to happen? And from that day after the launch, what will that mean?
Right. What that means is that if I want to send you mobile money, Malik, and let's assume that I am with MTN and you are with Vodafone, I do no longer need to go to an agent to cash my money and give the agent cash for the agent to transfer it into your account. I can electronically, from where I am, be able to type in your mobile number and send it directly onto your phone. And seamlessly, within seconds, you would actually receive the electronic funds lodged in your mobile money wallet.
How robust is this system? And I ask this question bearing in mind when we introduced the mobile number portability, which was done to solve the kind of problems that we are talking about. One of the major challenges that people complained about was that when you try to port your number, the telecom companies then frustrate you and makes it impossible for you to port your number, and that kind of dissuaded people from porting. So in the end, the system was defeated. The purpose for which it was introduced was defeated. How robust is this system that if I send money using Airtel Tigo, for example, to say Vodafone, it won't get jammed up somewhere along the line and create some confusion?
Right. I think your question is in twofold. In terms of robustness, where we are talking about security, we have actually used international standards in all our technologies. And that's why you haven't seen any of those frauds that exist. But we deploy first-class security modules, both software and hardware, in all our various infrastructure systems. But in terms of will some of the mobile money companies deliberately stop others from moving to other mobile companies, I don't think that's going to be the case. What will happen is that as opposed to individuals having duplicated 2 or 3 mobile money accounts, they would have one. So we would see a reduction. But that is not to say that the mobile networks are stopping, because the need to have 2 or 3 is no longer there. Now you have convenience and it's very easy to send. So we would see that the number of mobile money accounts that will be opened, that once upon a time, most people, if you go to the mobile money agents, they have all accounts with all the various.
So if you want Airtel to go, then they pick a different notebook and then they write the details there.
Right. All those things will be things of the past. So one can see that there might be a decrease in the number of accounts that will be open. However, in terms of volumes and value transactions, it's going to increase because you're creating convenience, we're creating ease, and also the cost is going to go down. Because if I physically have to move to you to redeem cash and then ask you to change a thing, you have to go to 2 or 3 steps for one transactions. All those steps will all be thing of the past. And at a single transaction, it goes through our switch and the cost will be reduced. We've actually started with the mobile money network operators, and we've looked at what we call the interchange cost that will be applied, and it's very, very negligible.
What is it?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's very, very negligible compared to, because we do not want it to be a restriction. The whole idea of the interoperability is to create convenience for individuals and to ensure that when transactions are done, they are done electronically. That objective is more important to us than the fee. So we are, don't forget that GIBS is a wholly owned subsidiary of the central bank. And our aim is sustainability. Our aim is to ensure that the country migrates to electronic payment, as opposed to we making money from the services that we are
But should the cost not be of concern? Because, well, you said it's not priority for you because you are looking at how this will...
The ultimate benefits.
But it is the customer who is paying this cost.
Precisely.
So,
and what I'm saying is, Malik, is that there's going to be a reduction. So let's say, for example, if once upon a time it was going to cost me 5 cedis to transfer from one network to another network, and now I'm paying only 50 pesos, that's an encouragement. It's I'm more inclined to use that service.
But how are you doing that? If formally we know that about 95%, almost 98% of the mobile money transaction happens on one network, which is MTN.
Precisely, yes.
So, which means a large number of people have MTN, and they are charged 1% for a transaction. If we have to use GIBS, will it not attract an additional fee because of this interchange cost, in addition to the 1% which MTN would have charged?
No, the interchange cost will only apply when you cross from one platform to the other. Okay. If you operate within the same platform, then it's the original, the old charges apply. Yeah. This interchange fee I was talking about is only applicable when you cross platforms.
So, assuming you cross platforms, how are the companies going to share revenues? For example, if I have money in my wallet in an MTN account, and I'm transferring that to, say, a Vodafone account. Ordinarily, MTN would have charged me their 1%. Now I have to pay some interchange cost. Will there be a matter of sharing of revenues between MTN and Vodafone, or MTN will charge their 1%, GIBS will take the interchange cost? What does Vodafone get?
Right. These are the very fine details which we will publish. However, if I remember correctly, when these discussions were held in terms of the commercials around the service, the philosophy was that if, for example, there is a charge for sending from mobile network A, and there is a charge for receiving for mobile network B, those charges will exist. However, because you are going through the interchange, that is the only new dimension that has been added to it. So those two exist, and there's a very small cost for the interchange, and that's all basically that is added to it. And like I said, if you are operating within the same network, that network charges apply. So when we look at it, it wasn't a question of because you are charging this, you are crossing a network, one is going to affect the sending charges and the receiving charges. The sending charges and the receiving charges for the various networks will still apply. However, if you are crossing, then there is a minute charge that GIBS will be taking for. One, for the network services that we are offering, and then two, for promoting the interoperable service in the country.
There's this question which the mobile, especially the agents, have complained about. And their point is, when mobile money was first introduced, I mean, and I use mobile money as a generic name for all the transfers, because there's Tigo Cash, there's Vodafone Cash, and all of that. When it was introduced, the agents were allowed to transfer money at no cost to the sender. It was at the receiving end, so it was the recipient who paid. So if I were sending 100 cedis to my mom, I would send 101 cedis so that she would get her 100 cedis. Then the telecom companies introduced a new policy and said, now agents don't have to send money to other people, send it to the wallet of the sender. But that means additional cost, because once you send it, put it in my wallet, and I transfer to my mom, I pay. When my mom receives, she pays, which means you're actually charging me more than originally when the agent sent. They would just send it to my mom. She only pay the receiving. She only pay the 1% when deducting. How is Gibbs dealing with that? Has it come to your notice?
We don't interfere in the mobile money business. They decide, and they do have a regulatory body that regulates all their charges. Okay. So these are questions that, with all due respect, you should go to them.
To them.
Yeah, right. What we concentrate on the interconnecting platform, okay, and the implications that comes with it.
Then let's deal with fraud.
Precisely, yeah.
All the telecom companies have their own modus operandi when it comes to dealing with fraud. So, for example, you transfer money, MTN has their rules guiding that. You have to complain to this person, you have to go to that office, you have to do this. Now, if I use MTN to transfer money to Vodafone and there is fraud, how do I resolve that?
Right, we do in terms of support if there are issues. We have FAQ, frequently questioned asked where you say that, right, I have done a transfer and there's an issue. The first port of call is your mobile money subscriber, and they will in turn will work with Gibbs. We at the center can see the two, and we have built-in systems that can trace electronically the path of the transactions, and we can help in the resolution. But your first port of call would be to contact your mobile money subscriber. Okay. And they in turn will work with us to resolve the issue.
But so there's no interface between the transferor and Gibbs?
Well, there is an interface. The interface is we are in the center, and the sender and the receiver systems are both connected to us. So we can see before, through us, and after. And we are able to find out exactly what has happened and trace it and find out.
Let's look at...
We've also creating a portal where if there is an issue, it will be logged. Both the sender and the receiver's network can actually see on the portal exactly where the resolution is up to. Where have we gotten to? What exactly happened to it? And between us, we'll come up with a solution.
Let's look at implications of this. What does this mean for the economy in terms of commerce and business?
Well, it means that one is going to support the financial inclusion program agenda of government. Don't forget that the whole idea of the financial inclusion program is to create a payment platform that would stop individuals from having funds outside the banking sector and then putting them into the banking sector. Any funds that you have in your mobile money wallet is funds in the banking sector. And then secondly, instead of going to an agent to redeem it, because what typically happens is that I'm with a mobile network A. You are a seller, a merchant, but you receive mobile network B. I will not be able to deal with you. What I have to do is to go to an agent, redeem or exchange my electronic mobile money into cash, and come and make cash payments. But by virtue of the interoperability, I'll be able to make payments direct to you. So what that means effectively is that I have transacted a transaction electronically, and that will reduce significantly our reliance on cash. And to these two factors, we believe that there's going to be loads of funds that will be lodged in the banking sector because now there's convenience. Individuals, commerce will all start paying with their electronic funds, electronic money, as opposed to going to collect cash.
But is that not the problem? So it seems a lofty idea, but if you look, you would find that there's a lot of movement of cash, even with mobile money, because people put in the money and they go and take the cash, because it does not appear that Gibbs has created these interoperable systems across the economy. So there are just a few things that you can pay using these electronic transactions. A few restaurants will take electronic transactions. In fact, there are filling stations where you can even pay with mobile money. There are many, many places apart from a few things, largely electricity bills, DSTV, and a few other things. Beyond that, everything else is still cash. So you may get a mobile money transaction, but you have to go and withdraw the cash and go and pay.
What you said, Malik, is 100% right. And that is the next step, what we call the acceptance area, where we, together with the banks and the mobile money operators, we need to start working on the merchants to enable the merchants to accept mobile money or bank electronic transfers as a form of payment. With the invent of this, what has typically hindered some of the merchants from accepting it is some of these Chinese walls. If I'm a merchant and I have an MTN account, and some of my customers that come to me belong to Vodafone or they have Vodacash, they will not be able to pay. And that's why the interoperability will start igniting some of these or eliminating some of these bottlenecks that currently exist in the country. But you are right. We need to get to the situation where all merchants will be enabled to accept all forms of electronic money. Whilst you're on this, I would like to also make note, mention of the fact that we are not coming up with an interoperable mobile money network where you can send funds seamlessly from one mobile network to the other. We are also enabling our systems so that you'll be able to send money from one mobile network directly into your bank account, and vice versa. So if I have a mobile money wallet and I also have a bank account, they are linked together. If I so wish and I feel I have too much funds in my mobile wallet and I want to use my card to make payment, and the merchant accepts point of sale device, or the merchant has a point of sale device there, I can push funds instantly into my bank account and use my card to make payment. Vice versa, if the merchant accepts mobile money, I can push funds from my bank account onto my mobile money wallet and use my mobile money funds to make payment. That is another service as well that we are going to launch. What is going to happen is that the mobile money companies are going to roll it out bank by bank. Don't forget that as we speak, some of the mobile money companies have linked the mobile network to some banks, but not to all banks.
Not to all banks.
Precisely.
Why?
But once we have, because of the bespoke nature, because they have to do it one after the other. Okay. But once they have linked it to our switch, and Gibbs is already linked to all banks, invariably, with minor testings, all mobile money networks can talk to all bank systems in the country. And as we speak, we are currently working on the testing phases to ensure that all banks in the country will also have a full interoperable platform between the bank account and the mobile money network. And thirdly, we are not just leaving it there. We are extending it also to our to eSwitch platform. Okay. So the famous eSwitch platform, which is now which is being used heavily by all government agencies. I'm sure you've read in the papers that between last year and this year we had 126% or so percent increases, where we have a lot of the government agents now using the eSwitch platform as their de facto mode of payment. Do we envisage to have the eSwitch get to a point where it can gain the kind of acceptability that Visa, for example, has gained? I would say that eSwitch currently has surpassed the Visa in terms of numbers in the country, and I will give you the figures because we have them at the. You can even check with the central bank and just to be neutral, and you see that. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. So the third leg is that we would also have the possibility of moving funds from your mobile wallet into your eSwitch wallet and vice versa. Don't forget that as we speak now, you are able to move funds from your eSwitch wallet into your bank account and vice versa. So what will happen in the country is that we're going to have a full financial, what we call the financial inclusion triangle, where you can move funds between the banks, you can move funds between eSwitch, you can move funds between mobile money, you can move funds. And between the three platforms, you can also move funds backwards
At what cost?
Well,
at what cost? Because only last week, and I have the EcoBank app on my phone.
Good.
But I can move money from my EcoBank account into my mobile money wallet.
Good.
But I can't do the reverse.
The reverse.
And
yes.
I was told I have to go to the bank and give express authorization for that to happen. And I don't have the time to do that, so that's a bottleneck for me. The other thing is, I guided someone to do this, and he said, I won't do this again. It's too expensive, the charges. So at what cost?
Precisely. You see, this is why when we started, I said some mobile money companies have already integrated to some banks. But like you rightly said, some of the costs are a little bit high. But once we come through the GIPS platform, now we are going to start with the cooperation of the mobile money companies and the banks, start coming up with a standard charge that customers should be charged with. And we will together try and reduce the cost of all these transactions. But that is an industry-wide topic, which the central bank has come up with a Payments Council. And the Payments Council, one of its functions is to look at all the modes of payments in the country and try and harmonize the charges that are on it. But the first is to create the platform, and then we come up with harmonizing the charges to support the adoption process.
How are the traditional banks taking all of this? Because we hear that there are jitters amongst the traditional bank, and quite recently when the MTN self-service point was unveiled, that machine which many said was an ATM, there were trepidations, especially within the banking industry, who feel, look, these telecom companies which are now giving loans and providing interest and all of that are going to kill an already struggling banking sector. Is there a basis for that fear?
I think there are a lot of school of thought in this. But it's important to note that the trend is not only limited to Ghana. Worldwide, we've all heard of fintech companies, that's financial technology companies. And what they are doing is offering transactional systems, whether it's a service app or it's a mobile app, whatever it is, transactional, to aid payments and receiving of payment. They are specializing in the payments, removing all the frictions associated with payments. However, when transactions occur, the funds are lodged in the banks. The fintech companies are not allowed to keep money. They must come with a bank, a settlement bank behind them. So the whole world we are getting to the stage where we have banking business, and then we also have transactional businesses. The transactional businesses is where the MNOs or the mobile money network companies and the fintechs are gaining momentum in and creating convenience for individuals, businesses, and commerce for them to transact. And they are more IT related. Now, these entities have grown, and in certain jurisdictions, they are called digital banking. So digital banking, fintech companies, they are more or less performing the same kind of tasks. And they are growing everywhere. So yes, if once upon a time I'm a bank and I'm doing banking, offering banking services for my customer, in addition to transactional banking services, and now another different entity is able to focus on that area and offering a more convenient service than I am, that is what is naturally happening, and that is causing, but if so far as I'm personally concerned, I think the two complement each other. I've read that if you go to England, the Bank of England for the first time has actually allowed a digital bank to open an account at the central bank. Now this is going to open a new kind of, it's going to change the dynamics in those areas. Does that mean that fintechs are now getting to the stage where they will start offering some biggest banking services? It's an evolving environment.
We have to go for a break.
Therefore,
we have to go for a break at this point. When we come back, I will be asking Mr. Hesse the rules that apply elsewhere with these fintech institutions. Do they apply in Ghana? Are the telecom companies not allowed to hold money? Because we know in 2016, about 1.3 billion was held in mobile money accounts. That figure jumped to 2.3 billion in 2017. If the companies are allowed to hold this money, what does that do to the traditional banks? You're watching Upfront. Keep watching. You're welcome, but you're watching Upfront, and we are discussing mobile money and the big word, interoperability. Now, from 10th, Mr. Hesse says people can begin to transfer money across network. This is money, mobile money transfer without borders. Mr. Hesse is my guest on Upfront. Before we went on the break, I was talking about the withholding of money and the fact that you gave examples and experiences elsewhere where the tech companies which are into these kinds of money transactions are not permitted to keep money. I just gave you the figures from the Bank of Ghana itself. Last year, 2.3 billion, at the end of the year, 2.3 billion was held in mobile money accounts. That was a significant increase, over 84% increase over the previous year. The previous year's figure. 2016 was 1.3.
That's a huge jump, yeah. That's
absolutely.
Correct, yeah.
So the rules as are applied elsewhere are not the same here.
Malik, it's important to know that the mobile money operators do have accounts at all the banks that they have affiliations with. So if I want to maybe go for MTN mobile money account, I will either have to obtain it. My account will either reside in a Cal Bank or Eco Bank or one of those banks. Anytime I put funds into that wallet, that funds resides in the bank. So it's like the MNOs, they do have a big a bank account that we are all part of in the banking sector. So it's still within the banking sector, and the banks, it increases the floats of the banks.
We know that the purpose of this is to deal with all the weaknesses in the mobile money transactions and all of that. There are other weaknesses, i.e. people education, awareness, which people lack. So I transfer money, somebody is just called, oh, I just transferred money to you. Can you send it back to me? And straight, the money is sent. Is there anything that GIPS can do as part of its processes to try and manage these kinds of weaknesses in the mobile money sector?
Yeah, like you rightly said, there will be a need for a lot of awareness and education. And if I remember correctly, when the interchange fee was being determined, the whole team, everybody agreed that we should also factor in, I can't remember the exact details, a very minute amount that GIPS will be keeping with the sole purpose of supporting awareness and education of the operations of mobile money in the country. So we have made provisions for that, and we'll be embarking on that. I also remember that a project team was asked to be formed, one from each of the MNOs, I think 5 from the banks, GIPS, and the central bank. And that team will be looking at what kind of awareness campaign should be done. So we are aware of that, and we are addressing that.
So has a provision been made, or it was just considered?
The concept was born, and in terms of how do we fund it, a percentage of transaction was attributed to it. So we're going to have an ongoing amount that will be done. And in terms of applying for the applications, you can imagine that at the beginning, that amount will be negligible. So there might be instances where maybe GIPS might have to pre-finance it, and then as time goes on, recruit the money. But these are things that we will look at. But yes, you are right. Education awareness, we cannot underestimate it.
This has done one of the other objectives that this is intended to achieve is to boost commerce.
Precisely.
We know that one of the bigger challenges facing Africa is intra-Africa trade.
Precisely.
And when it comes to mobile telephony, it hurts. When you live in an area, say Paga, and you call someone across the border, a distance that you can actually just walk, and the charges are crazy. It's almost 2 cedis per minute. Is interoperability going to help in mobile transfers as well across the region, say in West Africa to begin with?
Yeah, we have a roadmap, like we said earlier on. You can see the evolution of the interoperability, starting with the ATMs, the POSes, etc., to the interbank instant transfer between bank accounts. And come 10th of May, we've gotten to mobile money interoperability. We are aware that there's an immense number of trade within the West African region. And we've had discussions with our counterparts in Nigeria and the Francophone countries, Jim Uwemoa, to see how we can link our switches together so that our domestic card, for example, the GH-Link domestic card, can be used in any ATM in Nigeria or any of the West African zone. In the same vein, one can see that when mobile money would also get to that stage, and we are also looking at it very closely, that as part of the integrating our switches, should we also add the possibility whereby one would be able to send or receive money of either the same network in different countries or different networks in different countries.
Wow.
If you look at the example in in East Africa, that is what is happening between Tanzania, Uganda, and Kenya. They are now coming up with the intra-country transfer of mobile money. And naturally, I'm sure we would also head in that direction.
And earlier when we were discussing the transfers between the banks, you said that is being worked. Do we have timelines within which we are doing this? Do you envisage a day when you can make all of these transfers, all bank account holders can transfer their money into all networks without borders?
Precisely. When it comes to the mobile money to bank account, I don't think there's a problem in that area. I think most of the banks are ready. But when it comes to moving funds from your account into your mobile wallet, there are 2 ways you can do it. You can either initiate it from your mobile phone, your mobile wallet, or you can initiate it from your bank account. That's a push or a pull. And when it comes to those 2, the banks are currently working on it. If my memory serves me right, I know 5 banks, I can't remember who the banks are currently ready to go live with it. But like I said, we agree that we are not going to wait for all banks to be ready. But as and when the banks are ready, they would join the account to mobile transfer.
Will interoperability not expose the economy to the extent that a lot of money is going to move? Will it not create problems of inflation and all of those other shocks that comes with money just moving around?
I'm not an economist, but what the little economics I know that...
You're a technology person.
Precisely, but however, what I know is that time value of money, if money is able to circulate faster, that will rather increase the growth, the GDP of a country. And inflation is when the cost of goods are increased drastically over time. I don't believe that the fact that we are creating convenience will increase inflation. What it will rather do is increase the GDP of the country, because you are able to turn money around faster. Let's imagine that you are trading between Accra and the northern region. You've made your sales, you buy them from the northern region, you make your sales in Accra. Now, instead of taking transport back to the northern region, which will take you a day before you make your purchase and come again before you turn the money around, you are now able to just order the goods instantly by a phone or whatever, and then by the click of a button, either via instant pay or mobile money, you are also able to make payments, and goods will be dispatched immediately. So it will help you to turn your what do you call the funds around and grow the GDP.
Are there limits to how much money one can transact through the mobile money system? I asked this question because only last week I had a conversation with one of the mobile money agents, and he was complaining to me that he transferred 10,000 for a client, and the telecom operators refused to allow the transaction, and they said there's fraud, they suspect fraud. Is there a limit to which...
There are some limits which I have to refresh my memory on. I think something that I have to come back to you. But like I said, in the transactional era, we have some limits. Don't forget that the KYC needed to open a mobile money account is not as stringent as a bank account. And in the same vein, we also have limits that matches the type of KYC that is needed.
And KYC, you mean know your customer?
You mean know your customer. So in order to reduce the risk in that area, we have introduced some limits. But I'm not quite sure what the limits are to tell you from the top of my head. But maybe as part of the education, we would ensure that this is also added to the limits.
If the purpose of this program is to engender growth in the economy and to facilitate business and commerce, why will anybody impose a limit on how much money one can transfer through mobile money?
Well, we do have various payment instruments in the country, and one would have to decide which one is appropriate for which type of business. As we speak now, if you want to buy a house, I don't think you would go and carry cash and then, or 25, or I don't know how much a house costs now, and then use cash to pay. You can write a check, but if you go to the central bank, what we concentrate on, or as GIPS, is what we call the retail sector. But when you go to the interbank sector, we use a different system, and that is for high-value transactions. So there is also a limit. Gray as it is, I think the central bank needs to, there's a figure above which you have to go to your bank for your bank to use a central bank to bank system for that transactions. So we do have different systems for different purposes, and it's differentiated by the value.
We spoke about what interoperability will mean for the customer, for the economy, but we haven't spoken about what it would mean for the telecom companies. What would it mean for them?
Well, for the telecom companies, I'm sure they would tell you better than I can. But I think it's going to grow their volumes, because their customers will be able to transact with just about any individual, any business in the country. So they would see that their volumes and values growing. So like I said, interoperability is a vehicle that has been used in a lot of jurisdictions to grow, further grow the mobile money business. So they should be looking forward to a higher growth in their volumes and values.
That brings me to another question about charges. So we have already seen some of the telecom companies positioning themselves to probably take advantage of interoperability. Only a few days ago, I heard Vodafone announce a certain package. You pay 3 cedis and then you can transact, you can transfer money throughout the month. And here we are, ordinarily the companies will take 1%. Now, if you can pay 3 cedis and transact money throughout the month, how does that fit into interoperability?
I can imagine that by virtue of this system that we are about to go live with, a lot of the mobile network operators will have to go back to the drawing board and sit down and strategize themselves according to, in reflection to what is about to happen. There will be some changes in the dynamics of the way the whole thing works. And you must make sure that you revisit your strategies to ensure that you are not disadvantaged by that in any way. But that is normal business that you should be doing. Yeah.
We know that last year, for example, MTN's total revenues 15% of that was contributed by mobile money. With interoperability, do you envisage an increase or a drop, given that they virtually control the mobile money industry?
I don't work for MTN, but I see that revenue will increase not only for MTN, but for all the mobile network.
How?
You see, there's going to be, you see, when you have convenience, you are more likely to use it. So instead of me physically going to an agent to transact, and I now know that I can now, in the comfort of my home, send money to anybody, I am now more likely to use it than before. Are you with me? So as a result of that, if everybody or most people start behaving like that, you are bound to see growth, increase in volumes in terms of usage, increase in terms of, and once volumes, number of times you use it increases, like you rightly said, each time you use it, there is a charge because you have to pay for the service. And therefore, revenues for the various MNOs would also increase. So it's a win-win situation for individuals. The issue is there will be a direct competition between the mobile money entities and the alternative, which is the use of cash. And that's what we really want, to decrease our reliance on cash and increase our reliance on electronic transfers.
Educate me. How different is interoperability from the interconnect clearinghouse, which we discussed a few years ago in the telecom industry? Is there any relations between the two, between interoperability and interconnect clearinghouse?
No, I think the principles are more or less the same, but the interconnect clearinghouse is dealing with voice.
Okay.
Precisely, whereas the mobile money interoperability is dealing with it's a financial instrument.
So this is just money.
This is just money.
And the question
is money in the form of mobile in a mobile wallet, whereas the interconnect clearinghouse is wholesale voice system. It's a totally different thing.
And we still don't know how much the interconnect charges will be for interoperability. We'll publish it on our network, etc. But like I said, it's something that will be part of our FAQs, our frequent answer questions. The merchants, we must publish it for everyone to know for individuals to know how much it's going to cost them. But I can give you the assurance that it's going to be very, very negligible, that we've made it such that it's going to be very encouraging for individuals to transact. But the volumes are big, so GIPS will be making a lot of money.
It's all GIPS. Like you said, the volumes are going to be big. Why would the volumes be big? You rightly said that one network company is about 90% plus.
Yes, yes.
So the probability that from the word go, you are going to cross, it's not that high, is it?
Yeah, because MTN just about 93.5%.
There you go. So the interconnection charge will only apply when you cross network.
Okay.
So what is the probability? If we have 100 transactions every hour, what's the probability that each transaction or a transaction is going to be?
From the figures we have, just about seven out of, say, 7 out of 100.
Out of 100, exactly. So you see how small it is. But with time, we are hoping that it's going to start increasing, because although one network is currently dominant, over time you see other merchants, like we said, who would accept, you might meet a merchant who accepts maybe mobile money B. So although I'm with a dominant network, if the merchant accepts mobile money B, I have to use that to pay. And that would have to come through our switch. So in our projections, we see it as something that's going to start and then it's going to increase with time. It might take time.
Have we tested this system?
In terms of
interoperability?
Have we tested as in, yeah, we've gone through the normal system implementation test, where you develop the system, you test the application, you look at the integration, you go through user acceptance testing, what we call user all in the test environment, and then you migrate into live. And then
who developed the system?
Gibbs.
Gibbs.
Yes. Don't forget that, like I said, we have that mandate already. We also have developed instant pay, where you can move funds from one bank account into the other. So on the back of that GIP development work is what we used to develop the mobile money transfers.
And moving money from one bank account into another, is this done at the bank or individuals? Are there apps that individuals can do, or the banks have apps that individuals can use to do all of these transfers?
Okay, there are a number of ways. You can either, it depends on the bank you are with. With my bank, I have their app on my phone. So if I want to move funds from my Standard Chartered account into your bank, I'll go into I have access into my, into my bank account from the Standard Chartered app on my phone. Okay. And then I can ask you for your bank account number. And once I've typed it in and I've typed the amount, I have the choice of either choosing to go through the ACH, which will take next day, or ACH same day, or GIP, which is instant. If I choose the instant, right there and then you will see that the funds will move from my Standard account into yours instantly. And you can go and withdraw.
This has been enabled.
However, if your bank doesn't have an app, which I'll be very surprised, most of the banks do have an app now, then you can either do it from your internet, that's your PC, or you can go to the bank teller, and the bank teller can offer you that service. So these are the three modes. And
these transactions are made possible only through systems developed by Gibbs.
Precisely. I mean, Gibbs is in the center. So if you are moving funds from bank A to bank A, it doesn't come through Gibbs. That's why we are called an interbank company. It's Ghana Interbank company.
Yeah, so interbank payments and settlements.
Right, the settlement is because it's netted, and all banks do have accounts at the central bank, and that's how banks pay. We facilitate the process by which banks pay each other. So whilst you are transacting interbank, there is a liability from one bank on another, and we actually manage that whole process.
And so we just ran out of time. Before we go, so you are saying interoperability is being launched on when?
On the 10th of May.
Where?
That's in 2 days' time at the Marriott Hotel.
Okay.
Yes, at 9 o'clock.
And so after the launch?
After the launch, all individuals are free to start transacting. Maybe you can test it after the launch and tell me.
But for now, I can't.
For now, I don't know whether, there are some other complex ways by which you can do it. Okay. But for now, if you want it to go through our system, no. You have to wait till the 10th.
Have the mobile monies institution have to change their settings and their offerings in order to make that possible?
I think you are into systems design now. They would have to do all of those things in order for them to migrate into life. And those things are being put in place. Mr.
Hesse, I'm most grateful.
Thank you very
Hesse
much
is the Chief Executive of the Ghana Interbank Payments and Settlement System, a wholly owned subsidiary of the Bank of Ghana. They are leading the processes that will make interoperability possible so that you can transfer money without borders. This has been Upfront. My name is Malik Abbas Dabo. Until we bring you another show, keep safe. Bye-bye.